This is the last word on sports. Fourth down on 4 starts now.
Welcome into the show. The Saints go back-to-back into their bye week. The Hornets can't lose, and LSU rolls the Tide. We'll also revisit the kick. 40 years later, it's a packed 30 minutes. We begin tonight in Charlotte. The Saints bullying a beat-up Panthers squad, getting a solid performance after a defining moment last week against the Steelers. Jim Henderson with more from Carolina.
The leaves are dying here in Carolina, and the Panthers don't feel too well themselves. Today they reached perhaps the lowest point in franchise history. A lame duck coach, down to a fourth-string running back much of the game, playing their third quarterback because of injury and ineffectiveness. It all made a 34-3 defeat feel even worse. From the moment they had to kick a field goal after a 66-yard interception return helped them to a first and goal at the Saint 8-yard line, all the fun was over for the Panthers. And it was just beginning for the Saints.
That's exciting when you're playing defense for Greg Williams, is when you can get a team throwing the ball that much. That's when all the good stuff comes out. So it's always exciting to get up by that much so you can run those defenses.
It was only 7-3 Saints after one quarter, but a 19-yard touchdown from Breeze to Jimmy Graham made for a delightful homecoming for the Goldsboro, North Carolina native.
To be back home, to be in North Carolina, and to have that special moment is beyond words, you know. And so hopefully I can continue to get better and keep improving and doing that every game.
Afterward, Drew Brees' eyes sparkled in appreciation for the touchdown and the anticipation of what might lie ahead for the athletic tight end.
I'm happy for him. He's a guy whose role continues to grow within the offense, and he's a really talented player.
At the half, it was 17-3 Saints, and Sean Payton saw an opponent there for the taking.
And that's what Coach Payton stressed. He said, listen, we got them where we need them. They got bad body language. Let's kind of take the air out of them the second half and finish strong.
The Panthers barely had a pulse when Jabari Greer snuffed out any vestige of hope when he turned in the Saints' first return of the season for a touchdown upon his return from an injury absence.
Anytime that you can be a help for your team in a game like this, at this magnitude, it's special. So, it was just incredible the way that, our defensive linemen and linebackers cleared the way from as soon as we got the ball.
After that, it was all about Greg Williams turning loose the dogs. The Panthers would convert just 1 of 12 third downs, would net 68 yards passing, would gain less than 2 yards per completion, and would finish with less than 200 yards in total offense. That's the 6th straight game the Saints have held an opponent under 300 yards total. Nice way to go into the bye week. The Panthers have already enjoyed theirs, about the only thing they've enjoyed in this joyless season. In Charlotte, Jim Henderson, 4th down on 4.
The Saints secondary getting healthier with the return of Jabari Greer today. He and Tracy Porter making a difference. Check out the numbers through the Saints' first 6 games. And these are nothing to sneeze at, really, but they get better over the last 3 games. The Saints allowing a little more than 100 yards per game through the air. Carolina today getting to their 3rd-string quarterback, trying anything to get some yards, much less points against the Saints. But the potential for a blowout was in the cards way before the Panthers' desperation began.
And Moore quickly gets it to Brandon LaFell, and he is pushed back.
Carolina's first points would be their only points. A field goal rather than a touchdown in the first quarter gave the Saints defense all the confidence they'd need to pitch a shutout after that.
We stress that a lot. I mean, we can't control how they're going to get the ball down there, sometimes, whether it's offense turning the ball over or special teams with the long return. We can't control how we play once we get on the field.
The stand initiated a methodical beatdown of an already beat-down Panther offense.
I think as the game went along and, we started to gain confidence, we kind of smothered them a little bit. You could just kind of sense, it was going to be that type of game.
And the message wasn't lost on the other side of the football. Against a Carolina defense ranked 4th in the league, Drew Brees and the Saints offense converted 50% of their third downs and averaged better than 5 yards per carry.
We could feel the direction the game was going early on. Defense was playing extremely well, and we just knew offensively, this is a game that we need to take over. We need to just pull away.
Keeping within reach the division lead in the process. To talk more about the Saints win in Carolina, we welcome in Bradley Handwerger, WWLTV.com the Saints defense kind of flying under the radar because they're not getting all those turnovers. But if you look at the numbers this team's putting up and take into account the injuries that they're having to deal with, you've got to start to think this is probably a better job Greg Williams is doing this year than maybe even last year.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of players would have told you coming into the season that, all right, we've got our second season under Greg. We're a little more comfortable with the calls and all that. You would expect it to get better, but to be as good as it has been this year without Darren Sharper for the first 6 games, with the slew of injuries at cornerback and whatnot, and having to shuffle in linebackers, it's definitely one of the best coaching jobs in the league this season.
Just amazing, though, the influence that Darren Sharper has. The 3 games he's been back, 2 games now,
Sure.
He's either got a turnover or forced one. There's just something magical almost about that.
Absolutely, and I'll give you props. Earlier in the season when he was out, I said that Michael Jenkins was doing well and everything was all right with him, but then you see what happens when Darren comes back, and it's just, we asked him recently if it was just magic. He's like, no, you know, when you're just in the league this long and you see everything, you just have a presence on the field and you know where the ball's going to be.
He laid a big hit today, something you don't normally see him do. A lot of these guys banged up. We saw Jeremy Shockey, X-rays negative. The other guys, Pierre Thomas, all these guys. It seems like this bye week could be falling at the perfect time for the Saints, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got, I believe, Chris Ivory's got the sprained AC joint that Jeff Duncan reported from the Times-Picayune, and you've got Shockey has the negative X-rays on his ribs. It's definitely a very good time for them to have the bye, and it's not like last year. Then you got this momentum going, and then you don't want to lose it. They don't have that role that they had last year. They're playing well, but they're not on that role. So I don't think the bye is going to disturb the momentum.
Do you think Pierre Thomas gets on the field again as a Saint?
I just don't think so. You know, it's for seven weeks now or so since his injury, and he certainly hasn't gotten better. He's still on crutches. We talked to him in the locker room the other day about it, and he's like, it hurts everywhere. Hurts everywhere. It's, you know, we're 7 weeks from an ankle injury. It shouldn't be hurting everywhere still, and you just get the impression that it's just not progressing as quickly as anybody wants it to.
Yeah, the surgery hasn't been ruled out either. So, all right, Bradley Handwerger, thank you so much for joining us. You can read his stuff at WWLTV.com. And the Saints now, for the first time in the Sean Payton era, sweep the Panthers in the regular season. Still ahead, he may eat grass on game day, but Les Miles' hungry team and a couple of trick plays helped take down the Crimson Tide. Plus, why a quiet Tulane crowd at the Superdome actually became a distraction for Southern Miss. And the Hornets are off to the best start in franchise history. What Monty Williams had to change before his team opened the regular season. Before the kick that sent the Saints to the Super Bowl, there was simply the kick. 40 years ago tomorrow, Tom Dempsey became a legend, shattering a record that is yet to be toppled. Jim Henderson has the story.
On the Tulane campus, hundreds of students on a daily basis walk over hallowed ground, oblivious to what it once was and what happened here. This is where Tulane Stadium stood. It's history now. 40 years ago next Monday, history was made here. And he who made it and those who saw it will never forget the time, the place, the kick.
It's good! I don't believe it! The field goal attempt was good!
40 years ago, Tom Dempsey stood over a 63-yard field goal against the Detroit Lions to win the game. Longtime Tulane stalwart M.L. Lagarde was 42 at the time and watching from the stands.
You remember the pigeons coming out the Times-Picayune? The photographers had homing pigeons here.
I didn't know that.
They take pictures, put them on the pigeon, then they fly to the Times-Picayune.
Oh, me no, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
It was an iconic moment, frozen in time, and honored in perpetuity here at the Saints Hall of Fame Museum. The kick that's been equaled but never surpassed is celebrated on an annual basis here and recounted thousands of times over by the now 63-year-old Dempsey. The calls arrive about the time of the first frost in New Orleans, each reminding us of time's passage.
The older you get, the nicer it is to be remembered.
He's seen the highlights 100 times, seen them in his mind's eye hundreds of times more. The Al Dodd return, The Kilmer to Dodd pass. The clock down to 2 seconds. The ball on the St. 37. The goalposts on the Detroit Lion goal line back then. The scoreboard reading 17-16 Lions.
They called down and said, tell Stumpy to get ready, we're going to kick a long field goal. That's what our offensive coordinator used to say. I don't think they planned on making it a 63-yard field goal.
Tell Stumpy to get ready. And he was, had been since childhood, ready to succeed despite a cruel twist of fate at birth. Born without a right hand, born without half of a right foot.
I was very fortunate, and my dad had a lot to do with that. I remember one day I'm building something, and I said, damn it, I can't kick this son of a dump. Yeah, and he said, boy, you never say can't. You may have to do it differently, but you can do it. And every time I said can't then, he thumped me in the head like it was a watermelon.
There were many who wanted Dempsey to find the origins of the birth defect. Drugs were suspected.
But I didn't want to, because I didn't want my mother and my father to feel bad about it. So I really didn't want to know. I have it, I can't change it. You know, let's just go on with life.
Dempsey had to wear to make it.
Said I had an advantage because I didn't have any toes. And I said, well, God, when I miss them, how come I don't have a disadvantage?
The NFL eventually cleared the shoe, which kicked the ball, which cleared the crossbar. Wanted them both for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Instead, they reside in the Saints Hall of Fame in the Superdome. They, like he, belong in New Orleans forever.
It's incredible! Tulane Stadium has gone wild!
Hey, guys, together we can't be beat, right?
Yes, sir.
You know
Yes,
that
sir.
together we can't be beat?
Yes, sir.
Let's go play our football now. Let's go.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3.
The kids he coaches at Jeff Playground now are probably oblivious to the fact that an NFL icon walks among them on half a foot, instructing with a withered right arm, missing its hand. He says he leaves the X's and O's to his assistants. His instructions are more about life, about dreams, about determination, about challenges met and obstacles overcome. No one in the NFL had his, likely no one ever will. That's the record that will never be broken. That's the one that should and forever will be remembered. Jim Henderson, 4th down on 4.
Denver's Jason Elam back in 1998 tied Dempsey's record. Another Broncos kicker, Ola Krimlin, actually connected from 65 yards in a preseason game in 2002. That kick, though, not recognized by the NFL because it didn't happen in the regular season. Stay with us. We wrap up the show after the break.
I'm a saint. I'm a saint.
I'm a saint.
I'm a saint.
I am saint.
We are a community. We are a family.
We are a team.
We are a city.
We are resilient.
We don't give up.
We don't give in.
We don't give in.
We don't give in.
We have heart. We have soul.
We have soul.
We have spirit.
Like you would not believe.
We are not perfect.
We are human.
But we love this game.
We love this city. You cannot separate the two. We may fall, but we always rise. It's who we are. It's who we are. It's who we are. We are the Saints.
time because we're going to win this game. You'll see me out there taking that trophy.
One of my favorite ways that teams present the rings is to keep the design under wraps and really make that moment of delivery of the ring to the recipients a special time where everybody gets to see the ring for the first time together.
Years ago, the governor of Louisiana called the San Antonio businessman and asked him to participate in a group that he put together to purchase the New Orleans Saints. That businessman was Tom Benson. He agreed, and he went to a meeting with the governor, and to his surprise, he discovered he was the only guy at the meeting. Turned out he was the group. And he purchased the New Orleans Saints, and he did it because he loved the city of New Orleans, a city that he was born and raised in. 5 years ago, after Hurricane Katrina devastated our city, he marched the Saints back to New Orleans after a season in San Antonio. And he did it even though there was uncertainty as to where we were going to play. The population of the city was a fraction of what it had been only 6 months before. In addition, he authorized the hiring of a young assistant who had never been a head coach. And he agreed to sign a quarterback who couldn't lift his arm above his head, although I don't think I told him that. Now, Mr. B, I know that you hate gambling, but at that time you put all your chips on the table, and that was a heck of a gamble. And tonight, all of us get to share in those winnings. You know, I remember at that time you told us that we needed to lead the charge back to New Orleans. We need to set examples for our citizens, for the companies, and for the rest of the nation that New Orleans was going to come back. But you also told me that we were going to win a Super Bowl, and that certainly came true. On behalf of everyone in this room, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your leadership. We want to thank you for the resources that you've provided that enable us to compete for a championship. And most of all, we all want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of the New Orleans Saints. Mr. B, Mrs.
Give a toast to the coaches, the players, the staff, everybody that made this possible, huh? Thank you very much, huh? All right, thank you, thank you.
We asked the United States Marine Corps tonight to deliver 220 Super Bowl rings. And I knew we were in good shape when we started with ownership, and I turned around and I looked at the officer. I said, "Whose ring is that?" And he just looked at me, didn't blink. He said, "Rita." I said, "We're going to be all right tonight." One of the reasons you don't feed your dog steak
years I've been playing football, and it's the highlight of my career and my life right now. So it's just a wonderful feeling.
We can't lose, baby. We can't lose. You see us shining. We can't lose. You see us shining, Troy.
To have our success finally after all these years with this team, these people, it's just very, very special people. And I'm just so proud that we did it with this group of guys, their character, their heart, and you can see it on their faces. And it was just the most beautiful evening to come together and have all of us together and to get these.
Every time you look at it, you
Can't wait to see.
They were the team that just tries men's souls, you know.
The Sean Payton Show is brought to you by Crystal Clear Imaging, Sign Solution Specialists. Hollywood Trucks, the #1 choice for entertainment transportation. Carrollton Tech, a leading provider of network services and website development.
It's that marvelous time of...
became a Saints fan from the first second they got here.
One of the truly great things that's happened to the city was getting a franchise and keeping a franchise. I was, I guess, one of the many who did everything possible to make it happen, to bring professional football to New Orleans.
I used to live uptown, right off of Napoleon and Claiborne, and we used to walk to the games when they were at Tulane Stadium.
Well, I spent a lot of time in that big stadium on Willis Street. I was Tulane's PA announcer. At least 5 years before the Saints started.
My earliest memory is sitting in a bar in North San Diego County watching John Gillum go coast to coast. First play in history of the team was touchdown.
It's hard for me to think about when I first encountered the Saints. It'd be like, how did I first encounter jazz? You know, first time I had red beans and gumbo, or first time I had king cake.
My introduction really to New Orleans and the Saints came on the same day, on the same evening, on my 18th birthday. And it was like I was hooked on both of them from the beginning. They lost, but they were like, dude, that's my team.
It was about 28 years ago when I moved to the city. I remember that, you know, a lot of the seasons were long. We didn't have a winning team for a while.
They were the team that just tries men's souls, you know. Even somebody that you love gets under your skin now and again. And that's kind of like it was with the Saints. I don't want to say it was a love-hate relationship because there was never hate involved. But there were times you loved them a little bit less because you wanted to go, come on, man, you should have made that one. I mean, I'm old and fat and I could have made that play.
The team was terrible. Right? But this is what's great about the people in New Orleans. We had an unconditional love for the Saints. I mean, we live and breathe the Saints, whether they win or lose, and you know, we celebrate their losses just as much as we celebrate their victories.
The play that I made in the Atlanta Falcons game ended up on SportsCenter's Top 10.
It's time to party in the park. Time to kick off the season with celebration.
Jimmy Graham, tight end, New Orleans Saints, 6'6", 265. The U. Football was first, you know. I was always a football player as a kid, and you know, just loved it. I ended up being MVP my freshman year, and then the next year I was adopted, and I got moved to a Christian school, and they only had basketball. So, you know, I thought my football career was over. I played 3 years of high school basketball, ended up going to the University of Miami, played 4 years of basketball. I'd been trying to play football since my sophomore year. My coach would just say, you know, Jimmy, I'm not gonna risk you getting hurt, you know, for the whole season. So, you know, you can't do it. I had a 5th year of eligibility to play another sport. So instead of, you know, pursuing my things in basketball, I decided to go back to school and come out of the smoke. I had about 4 or 5 tryouts in the NBA at the time, and I just told him, you know, I'm going back to college to play football. Why play something I was forced to play instead of something that I love? Bernie Kosar had heard that, you know, I was thinking about playing football, you know, and you know, apparently he had been watching me play basketball, and you know, he thought I was a pretty physical player and thought that I needed to be on the football field. So one afternoon, me and him, we meet up, and you know, we're just playing catch for about an hour and a half. After that, and after all the talking, you know, he just tells me, right to my face, he said, Jimmy, I think you could be an NFL playmaker. So, you know, he would actually drive down 3 days a week to meet with me and to just talk about football, you know, and just teach me things. I mean, it was an incredible summer because, you know, here's Bernie Kosar, you know, just you know, screaming at me and just so excited, you know, about, you know, the fact that I'm gonna be playing football. I guess I got my first play, really, production-wise, ever in the NFL. Surprisingly, it wasn't a catch, it was a handoff. I was excited, you know. I'm Shockey's backup to everything, you know, but whenever he called that play, you know, I was excited and, you know, ended up getting the first down. So the play that I made in the Atlanta Falcons game in the 3rd quarter ended up on SportsCenter's Top 10. Hopefully I have many more of those plays this season, you know, and I'm excited. I have a special bond with all of our tight ends, you know. David Thomas told me, you know, he's never had a younger brother, and now he finally does. And Shockey, I consider him my older brother, you know. He looks out for me, and on every play Every play I do, even in practice, he's right there, and he's the first one to tell me something. Usually he runs out there, and he's already screaming at me. Everybody thinks they can play basketball, you know, and everybody thinks that they're going to beat me, which that's not going to happen. I haven't played yet, but I've got probably 25 challenges so far. Even Drew Brees, even he wants to play in the offseason. So we'll definitely get a go at it, but, you know, I promised him that I won't foul him like I was fouling people in college. You know, I'll let him shoot, and then I'll get the rebound. So I wish I had some more football under my belt, you know, but I guess, you know, with the way things turned out, you know, some people always told me, what if you had played and done this, what if this, but, you know, I just tell them, well, you know, if I had those what ifs, you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at, you know, and I could be with some other team and maybe not be as happy. So for me, you know, it's the perfect situation.
Try to keep up with the trends. I'm not on the tight jeans, so that's not my thing.
The most popular game show on TV.
When we travel, you know, Coach likes us in suits, you know, coat and tie.
I think I like that one better.
Keeping up with technology, I put the suit that I want to wear for this upcoming game. I took a picture of the shirt and I put it in my phone. So I'm gonna just pop up the picture of the shirt and I'm gonna match it to some ties.
Kind of like this one.
I had some colleges like Florida thought that I'd be at safety, and my high school coach was just like, no, he's a linebacker. He was like, trust me, he's a linebacker. I'd always say if you came down to watch me in high school, you'd be like, well, I don't care how much he weighs, he can play football. And fortunately, Miami was right there, and they saw me play about 2 or 3 times, and they told me when they recruited me, we know you're gonna be a middle linebacker. We're not moving you, we're not changing you.
This is a picture-perfect tackle. You dream of hits like that when you're a defender.
I've always just felt everything that encompasses being a linebacker, from signal caller, lining the guys up, the contact every play, to be able to go 1 minute downhill, making a tackle for a loss, next minute running back 20 yards, making an interception downfield or pass breakup. You know, it's just everything about middle linebacker. I think it's just me. I can't pick out one thing. It's just me. It is what it is. My style off the field is very laid back. What you see is what you get. You know, on the field is just the complete opposite. And I think they go hand in hand, you know, like that yin and yang, where, you know, it's so intense on the field and so emotional. You have no time to be laid back, especially on the defensive side. You have to go and you're going 100 miles an hour, that once I get a break and, you know, the game is done or practice is done, I just want to relax. I think that they complement each other, where I'm just real chill off the field, and when it's on the field, it's full go. What happens from when I get the call to the offense breaking the huddle is we can go through like a base call if it's just you know, a base front and zone coverage behind it. As soon as the offense breaks the huddle, I have to find the tight end to designate the strength call. Once I find the tight end, I have to think about the down and distance to determine if it'll be more run or more pass. Once I've deciphered down and distance, I look at the formation. Is the quarterback in the shotgun? If he's under center, if the back is offset, the back is moved up closer, that'll help me determine run or pass. And then once I determine run or pass, then if it's a pass play, you break down the quarterback and say, well, he likes these type of throws. You know, he doesn't like, let's say, a back shoulder fade. He likes to lob the ball up. If it's a run play, you say, well, the running back likes to bounce outside. So depending on our defense that we have, if it's going to be covered up, then I know he's going to most likely bounce outside, or he'll be a downhill guy. So all those things go on, and then finally you decipher, you break it down, and once the play starts, you just go. It's really easier said than done to get motivated and stay hungry for this year. And you know, one of the biggest things is the feeling that I had winning the Super Bowl. And I just remember all the little steps, the work that I put in, the film that I watched, the weights, the practices, and not only do I want to do that again, but I want to do it better. I'd say I try to keep up with the trends. I'm not on the tight jeans, so that's not my thing. But I love my suits, so I love to put on a good suit, put on a nice tie with it, some cufflinks, and go from there. I'm real simple, give me some nice button-downs, some nice fitted shirts, and I'm cool with that. I won't do bright colors, so you won't see me wear one of these greens like that. You won't see me in an orange suit. Yeah, none of those bright, flashy colors there.
Thanks for doing such a great job for the city. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
thank you, thank you. So yeah, shopping can be more difficult than the NFL sometimes, but it was great. Got to see some fans, got some work done, got to handle all my business off the field, and now it's getting ready for Monday night against San Fran.
This is the last word on sports. 4th Down on 4 starts now.
Welcome into the show where there's never a bye week. The Saints enjoying theirs this Sunday, and Sean Payton taking a page from Eagles head coach Andy Reid, giving his players some extra time off, and it can't hurt. After all, Andy Reid has never lost coming off a bye. So now it's the home stretch for the Saints, who at 6-3 could be better, but they could be worse. Jim Henderson looks at what's next for the defending champs.
As the Saints sit back and relax this weekend, they can be proud of what they've accomplished and wary of what lies ahead for them in the NFC South. Demonstrably the toughest division in the NFL since realignment in 2002, and arguably its toughest division this year as well, heading into this weekend's action. Since realignment in 2002, it's the only division to send all 4 teams to a conference championship game. It's the only division to send 3 of its teams to the Super Bowl. The NFC South has the best postseason record of any division. Prior to this weekend, it's the only division with 3 teams above 500. And those 3 teams, the Falcons, Saints, and Bucks, have a better record cumulatively than the top 3 teams in any other division. So what lies ahead for the Saints, Bucks, and Falcons in their final 7 games of the regular season? Projecting wins and losses is a risky business. Prior to the season, who among you didn't have the Saints beating the Cardinals and the Browns? Who among you didn't have the Steelers beating the Saints? The Saints will close with 4 of their last 7 on the road. But the Saints are 3-1 at the moment on the road, where their average margin of victory is 19.7 points. They are 3-2 at home, where their average margin of victory is 5.7 points. In their next 5 games, the toughest could well be a trip to Baltimore on December 19th. After that, 2 games remain on the Saints' schedule. More on those in a moment. The Falcons get a stern test November 28th when the Packers visit. But they get a huge break with 2 games against the woeful Panthers still to be played in weeks 14 and 17, with that final game in Atlanta where the Falcons are tough to defeat. The Falcons will close the season with a pair of home games. More on those in a moment. The Bucks have to go to Baltimore as well on November 28th. In weeks 15 and 16, Detroit and Seattle will visit Tampa Bay. In an effort to prevent playoff-assured teams from resting their starters in wholesale fashion, as the Saints did against Carolina in Week 17 last year, the NFL back-ended schedules with divisional games that the league hoped would have playoff significance, making for more competitive, more entertaining games, necessitating the participation rather than the recuperation of starters. And just look what the schedule maker gave the Saints. Week 16 on Monday night at Atlanta, and Week 17 at home against Tampa Bay. The Falcons get the Saints and the Panthers, both at home, in Weeks 16 and 17. The Bucks get Seattle at home and the Saints on the road in 16 and 17. The final 2 games of the season will probably allow the Saints the chance to catch their 2 division rivals if need be, or to prevent the Saints from being caught by them if need be. This is a new year, but it figures to be time then to pull out last year's rallying cry. For the Saints, the challenge will be to finish strong or finish wrong. Jim Henderson, 4th Down on 4.
We welcome in Saints columnist Jeff Duncan from the Times-Picayune to talk a little more about the Saints in their bye week. And through this first part of the season, this first half of the season, what do you think is the most pleasant surprise from the Saints team?
Well, I think the defense as a whole, I think we all agreed that they have really kind of carried this team through some rough times early on. And, you know, they've done it with a lot of short-staffed people in the secondary. They've had to do musical chairs. Greg Williams and his staff, I think, have done an excellent job of patching things together back there and keeping this team afloat until they get the running backs back from injuries like they probably will get soon, and also you know, overcoming these turnovers that plagued them early on and cost them a couple games.
Do you think it's more impressive the job he's doing this season, considering all of the injuries, or the job that he did last season where they kind of came in with that new philosophy? Because if you look at this season, they wanted to revamp the defensive line, really didn't do that much, but Cedric Ellis is having a career year. You almost think that this is maybe his better coaching job, despite those huge numbers they put up last year.
I don't think there's any question about it. I think Greg Williams and his staff have done as good a job as anybody in the league. When you look just person for person, talent-wise, the personnel is not that great on that side of the ball. I don't think there's too many Pro Bowlers over there. One of the sure things was Darren Sharper, and he's been out most of the year. So they've patched things together. They play well as a unit. And, you know, they told us all off-season they would be better, and none of us believed them because we thought, oh, they'll never get that many. They can't get that many turnovers, right? And they haven't, but they've just played sounder on that side of the ball.
Well, what's your biggest disappointment thus far?
I think the offensive line has been a major disappointment. They're considered a strength. They really haven't been injured very much. John Stinchcomb had a few injuries, but Jari Evans signed a huge contract, highest paid guard in the league, and I think he's been a disappointment so far, at least to his standards. They're still playing well above the average in the league, but not to the standards we saw a year ago.
Can this team catch Atlanta? You go back to that Ravens game on Thursday night. That's a historic win for that franchise, I thought. Matt Ryan just doesn't seem to lose in the Georgia Dome, where the Saints have to go back to. You think that they're kind of just playing for second place and maybe home field in round one of the playoffs at this point?
Well, you know, when they lost that game, I said that game could come back to haunt them later in the year in playoff seeding, and it's starting to look that way. But they get a chance. I mean, they've got some easy games coming up here after the bye week, and they've got a chance, I think, to stay within striking distance for that big Monday night game. And that's going to be a huge game, and I certainly think they can win that game. Atlanta's not unbeatable, but what they're doing this year is a lot like what the Saints did a year ago. They're finding ways to win, getting a lot of lucky breaks, and that sometimes becomes contagious.
After the bye week, Sean Payton has mentioned that he expects to be at full strength. Well, maybe not full strength, but close to it in that offensive backfield, something he hadn't had almost all season. How do you see that shaking up? Let's just go ahead and assume that everyone's going to be healthy with the emergence of what Chris Ivory and some of these guys have been able to do with Bush, Pierre, and all that stuff. What do you see happening?
Well, there's too many backs and not enough touches. Yeah. That's clear. Obviously, Reggie Bush is the one that's really going to impact things because basically Ladell Betts plays that exact role. And I think Ladell Betts is probably the odd man out right now. I don't think they're going to have to make a personnel move until some injuries start happening. They've got the roster spots fine right now, but they need to figure out how they're going to keep these guys in the rotation. I think Chris Ivory, his role stays the same. He's going to be that short yardage power back. So I think that he'll be the Mike Bell of this year. But we don't know when Pierre Thomas is going to get back. I don't think the Saints even know. And so until then, I think it'll be Jones and Bush and Ivory.
Well, the train wreck that is the Dallas Cowboys has somehow entangled the New Orleans Saints somewhat a little bit as Sean Payton's name gets drawn into their coaching search now. Good friends with Jerry Jones. Your thoughts on the potential of Sean Payton even thinking about the Dallas Cowboys head coaching job next season?
Well, the timing's bad. You know, he's still under contract, got multi-year contract going on with New Orleans. There's no doubt he has great respect for Jerry Jones and that organization. His family loved their time in Dallas. But you've got a Hall of Fame player in his prime here in New Orleans. This team's core is going to be together for a while. And I think he really enjoys working for Tom Benson and Mickey Loomis. They let him alone. That is not the case around the league, and it's certainly not the case in Dallas. Although I do think he would have a very good working relationship with Jerry Jones. He's very close to him. I think he feels like he's a mentor for him in the league. But it's a long shot, I think, for Dallas to try and make a move when we all know what that would involve. It would involve draft pick compensation, a lot of money, you know, and I think they're going to go for a big-name coach. But you got guys like Bill Cowher and John Gruden right now, free agent coaches that are available that I think are more attractive when you're trying to rebuild it, which is what Dallas is probably going to be doing.
And you've got to think that Sean Payton doesn't yet feel complete here. You've got the Super Bowl win, which will forever put you on a pedestal in New Orleans. But what if you could win 2? I mean, that's something in New Orleans, and that not a lot of other people even have to. You mentioned some of those. Gruden doesn't have 2.
Right, yeah, no, there's no question.
So maybe he's trying, so the fact of trying to build something new maybe doesn't play in just yet for him.
But I do think in this day and age in the league, you can turn things around quickly. There's a lot of talent in Dallas. That's not a major rebuilding job like he encountered here. So I do think that would be appealing from that perspective. He'd come into a very talented team, but they've got they've got so much going for them here in New Orleans, and he's built all this. It's his baby. Yeah, this is his team. And I don't think he's ready to abandon that right now.
I think he stays as well. All right, he's Jeff Duncan. He's with the Times-Picayune. Stay with us. Much more after the break, including Jeff's new book. I think it's going to be a must-read, if not just for one chapter. All right, stay with us. You're watching 4th Down. Well, it was the biggest man-made disaster in the history of the world, Katrina. It involved the Saints. It involved New Orleans. Jeff Duncan of the Times-Picayune has a book out called Bags to Riches, How the New Orleans Saints and the People of Their Hometown Rose from the Depths Together. First off, I think you need a longer title there in order to get people in. But as we look at the cover of the book, and you have Tracy Porter's interception there along with the dome, why Tracy Porter's pick? Why that picture right there?
Well, we felt like that the NFC Championship game was almost as big, if not bigger, I think, in the fans' eyes as the Super Bowl. We all were at that game, and the tension and the pressure to win that game and just get over the hump for this franchise, I thought was a tipping point in the history of the organization. And I thought the Super Bowl was almost lagniappe at that point. If the Saints would have lost the Super Bowl, fans could have lived with it.
Yeah.
They would have been devastated if they would have lost to the Vikings. And I thought that play really summarized the whole season in a way.
You've shared a lot of anecdotal stories that you can find throughout this book. One you wrote about in the paper, how Sean Payton called Brett Favre the old man. I'm sure there's some other ones interspersed throughout the book. Tell us about some that we can read.
Well, there's a lot of great stories about the football team, but I think this book is more about the fans and the people in New Orleans. And I think that's what separates my book from, say, Drew Brees's and Sean Payton's book, where they were the focal characters of their books, and those both were great reads. But this book will be more about the people and the fans, which I think is something very unique, the love affair between this city and the fan base and the team. And there's a great story about Jimmy LaFond, who is a Cajun fisherman who ended up going to Manresa and gone on a retreat with the Jesuit priest's home up there in Convent, Louisiana. And his retreat was scheduled for the NFC Championship game. So you can imagine, his conflict. He's a season ticket holder for 25 years, and of all things, if you know how serious that is, and he snuck out of Manresa, the retreat home, snuck out during some prayer time and went to the game and got back in without them even knowing about it. So it was a great story.
Until now, until the book comes out, right?
Yeah, right.
There's an interesting chapter in the book that I think a lot of people will be talking about once the book comes out, and it's one about Tom Benson and the aftermath after Katrina that involved New Orleans, San Antonio, some employees. I mean, you go pretty in-depth in all of that. Without giving it all away, just kind of talk about the motivation behind writing that chapter and how difficult was it to get all of the correct information from people who maybe didn't want to talk to you.
Well, it was very sensitive information, and it's obviously people in the organization still are not motivated to tell that story, and I think a lot of fans have forgotten about that period of time. People in New Orleans, of course, and South Louisiana were busier with much more important things, just getting out from under the water, checking on their homes and their families, getting their kids enrolled in other schools. They forgot about what was going on in San Antonio. This franchise really had one foot out the door, and they will never admit it. They're doing a lot of revisionist history right now, but everyone that I've talked to in the course of this book except for the people that were responsible for trying to get out of here, will tell you that they were convinced the Saints wanted to go to San Antonio. The league, of course, was not going to let that happen. So there's really two questions there. Were the Saints ever going to leave, and did they want to leave? I think they definitely wanted to leave, but I don't think they ever really were in danger of leaving New Orleans, because I don't think the league would ever allow that to happen. But I think it was a critical part of what happened in this whole storyline, because this was a very tenuous situation, and the people of New Orleans stepped up when they really had no reason to believe in the Saints. After that 3-13 season, nobody really knew who Drew Brees was at that time. He was injured. Reggie Bush hadn't been drafted, and they bought season tickets, I think, out of civic duty and civic responsibility, and they started this story. It didn't start with the team lifting the city.
Yeah.
It started with the city lifting the team.
Real quick, you talked about revisionist history. 20 years down the line, how do you think, not only here but maybe nationally, Tom Benson is thought of and remembered?
Well, I think that people have already started to forget about it. Now in the deep recesses of fans' minds, I don't think they'll ever forgive him for that. But he did bring the team back. It did come back. And the best thing I can say about what the organization has done, let's give them credit for recognizing what a great story was going on here. They've bought into this whole community and really become much more fan-friendly, and the organization has joined forces with this city and made this great story last year. So I give them credit for that, but it didn't start with them, it started with the people.
Yeah. Jeff Duncan, columnist for the Times-Picayune. You can read his book, Bag to Riches. When's it coming out?
Comes out November 23rd release.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks for coming down. Stay with us, much more Fourth Down after the break. Still ahead, how this 7-footer and his smooth stroke from 19 feet have helped the Hornets stay unblemished thus far, and who's more likely to end the season in a Hornets uniform, this guy or this guy?
On the Sean Payton Show, the Saints are 6-3 coming off a Panthers win at Carolina. We'll bring you all the highlights of that NFC South clash. And 40 years later, Saints Hall of Fame kicker Tom Dempsey talks about his historic 63-yard kick for the black and gold. Plus, Drew Brees goes back to school during the bye week. All that, and we'll introduce you to another Saints-sation calendar girl. The Sean Payton Show starts now. Welcome to the Sean Payton Show. I'm Angelina Swords.
And I'm Sean Payton.
Coach, it's really great to see you again after the bye week. Did you find a little time for some rest and relaxation? I mean, it did come at a good time being later in the season like this.
I think it did come at a good time. I think for our players and coaches, each year we wait to see when the schedule comes out. Is it going to be earlier in the year or at the midway point? And for us this year, it was kind of at the halfway season point. And for a number of injured players, coming off the big win against Carolina, it gave all of those guys a little bit more time to get healthy, and it gave their families a little bit more time with the players and the coaches. So that was good.
Right, and right before the bye week, we were able to sweep the Panthers, which was really nice.
It's really nice. It's the first time it's happened since we've been here. Carolina's been one of those teams in our division that's always played us well, and for us to go back at Carolina and play as good as we did right before the bye, the timing was perfect.
Well, let's take a look at the recap.
Well, today we'll find out if the Saints have learned a painful lesson, that being not to take downtrodden teams with unproven quarterbacks lightly, because the Panthers, as they are currently constituted, give the Saints every reason to do so. But a Saints loss to this Panther team under these circumstances would be the Saints' worst of the season. And this is Julius Jones, 30, 35, 40, 45 midfield, 45 of the Panthers, 35, 30, and pulled down from behind after a 50-yard gallop. 2nd and 5 from the 10. Backs in an eye. Brees drops the ball, picks it back up, and it's off the hands of Meacham, and it's coming back the other way to the 30, 35, 40 for a 66-yard return. Lining up a 20-yard field goal right hash mark. The left-footed booter puts it up and through, and the Panthers take advantage of an early Saint turnover. Here's Brees. Breeze looking, throwing over the middle, and it's going to be caught for the touchdown by Shockey. And for Jeremy Shockey, his third touchdown of the season. Here's Breeze throwing, and it's going to be caught by Jimmy Graham for the touchdown. Jimmy Graham's first touchdown, first of many to come in the NFL. Here's Morstead's kickoff, and it's a line drive that hits at the 17, and it goes off the hands of Goodson, and he's fumbling the football around at the 1-yard line. Courtney Roby's down there to get him, and they will bring him down along with Malcolm Jenkins inside the 5-yard line. Snap, placement, kick on its way, and it is good. 2nd and 3 at the Panther 21. Here's Clausen, and it's going to be intercepted by Greer. Greer bringing it back 15, down to the 10. He'll trot into the end zone for the score. That's the parking lot play here at Bank of America Stadium, as the stalwarts have seen enough. The Saints led 7-3 after the first quarter. The Saints just dominated thereafter.
Who that? Who that said go beat them Saints?
Before we get ahead to Seattle, we're going to go back and look a little bit at the Carolina game, and there's 2 key plays that we want to review, and the first one actually comes on the first play from line of scrimmage. Julius Jones ends up with a real big run to start the game. I want you to pay attention to the backside first, and Carl Nix does a great job here, who's playing left guard. Jermon Bushrod is going to step down and come back on this block versus the linebacker. Watch Nix as he gets good movement here on this block versus the defensive end. Everyone involved in this, including Dave Thomas, who's actually going to come back and seal off the backside. You'll watch this, and I think from an end zone copy, gain an appreciation for all the things that really take place on a good run. The running back's course is good. The block by Dave Thomas coming back to seal the end man on the line. You'll see that Jermon Bushrod does a great job of stepping down with Carl Nix. And really, it's a combination block where they're going to work together up to this linebacker. So Carl does a great job stopping any penetration. Jonathan Goodwin handles the movement. And then over here on the right side, Jari Evans does a good job giving us push. The hole is created, and Julius does a good job of really hitting that and getting into the secondary. So we start the game with a big run that gives you momentum. The second play we're going to take a look at is on defense. And one of the points of emphasis in this game specifically was field position. And we thought it was going to be critical to play this game on Carolina's end of the field. And that's a goal each week. So that's pretty simply stated. But we felt like any mistake made on this end of the field could result in points. And this ends up being Jabari Greer's interception return for a touchdown. Our first score on defense. I'm sure there's going to be more to come. But it happens on the Carolina 20. Jabari does a great job of anticipating the route, and it's a simple delay route. So Carolina is going to take their slot receiver and run him on this bench route, and their outside receiver here is going to run just a simple 6-yard delay. But his split outside the numbers here is a little bit wider than normal, and you'll see Jabari play an inside technique and actually lean on that split and kind of keep his leverage and undercut the route. He puts his foot in the ground and is able to come up with the interception, and at this point does a great job of getting it into the end zone. Those were 2 key plays in our win versus Carolina. There were many others, but those were 2 we'd point out.
Coming up, we sit down with Saints Hall of Fame kicker Tom Dempsey. And still to come, we'll introduce you to Danielle, a Saints Station enjoying her sophomore year on the squad.
The Sean Payton Show is brought to you by Crystal Clear Imaging, Sign Solution Specialists. Hollywood Trucks, the #1 choice for entertainment transportation.
Last week marked the 40th anniversary of Tom Dempsey's 63-yard field goal at Tulane Stadium on November 8th, 1970. It was a record-setting kick that gave the Saints a 1917 victory over the Detroit Lions.
A pretty amazing kick and a record that still stands, and there aren't many records set in 1970 that still stand today, and a credit to Tom Dempsey and his team. And a funny story about him, The first time I had a chance to meet Tom, I shared this with him. As a young child growing up outside of Philadelphia, we would go to the Eagles practices. In the latter part of his career, he played at Philadelphia. And after practice, the players would come off the field, and if you were lucky, you might be able to grab one of the players' helmets and walk with them. And the first player I had a chance to do that with was Tom Dempsey. So if I'm making you feel old, Tom, it's probably because you are.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Well, you'll probably really appreciate this then. At the end of the interview that we did with him, he mentioned how much he still wishes he was a part of the league so that he'd have the opportunity to be coached by you.
Well, he's someone I think everyone's got great respect for, and to think of the distance of that field goal, and again, the longevity of a record like that is truly amazing.
Well, we got to sit down with Tom Dempsey last week to talk about that historic kick, but also how much the city of New Orleans means to him and why he still loves the Saints.
Well, there's always a little bit of pressure because professional football players aren't paid to play, they're paid to win. And we actually played probably the best game we played all year against the Lions that day. Don Heinrich was our offensive coordinator, was up on the top, and he gets on the phone and tells one of the other coaches, says, "Tell Stumpy to get ready, we're going to kick a long one." I didn't know how far it was because in those days I never selected my own spot like a lot of these young kickers do. I had a great holder in Joe Scarpati, and he always picked my spot, and I never argued with him. I said, "That's the one you want, let's go." And he told me, he said, "Tom, we're going to move back another yard." Because all the kicks were 7 yards, 2 feet, because I had the laces get forward with that kind of a snap, and he wanted to make sure I could get the ball up because I was going to kick it hard. So he actually moved it back a full yard.
The longest field goal in National League history.
But I knew the second that I hit the ball, it was going to go a long ways because everything went smooth. Had a great snap from Jackie Burkett. My only concern after it went off was would it stay straight, but it just stayed straight. And I saw the two officials down there jump up in the air and they said it was, the good sign. So I knew I had it. And then they started telling me how far it was, and that's when I knew what it was. I just knew it was a long field goal.
19-17.
If you're going to set a record, there's only one place to set it in this country. It's here in New Orleans. I'm proud it lasted so long because I didn't ever think it would last this long. One thing as you get older, it's nice to be remembered as the older you get.
Snap a little high. Elam's kick. It's a line drive. It's got enough distance. It is 63 yards.
And the day after Jason Elam tied me, I got a chance to talk to him and tell him how proud I was of him, and he did a great job. I must have had 25, 30 sports writers from all over the country call me, and all of them wanted me to badmouth him because he did it in Denver. And I tell them, no, I'm not going to badmouth the kid. What you have to do is respect the effort. Well, I think the Saints have been lucky or good as they picked their kickers. Morton Anderson truly is one of the finest kickers who's been in the NFL. And then Garrett Hartley came along, and he's really kicking well. He had big kicks, some of the, 3 field goals in the Super Bowl, 1 to beat Minnesota. He was good enough that they're changing the rules, so that must mean that they don't have many good kickers like him around in the league.
She's a second-year Saints-Sation cheerleader for the New Orleans Saints, and the month of February in the 2010-2011 Saints-Sational swimsuit calendar. Meet Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle, and I'm 22 years old from Metairie, Louisiana, and this is my second year on the team.
Just like that, good.
We do put a lot of time and effort into being a Saints-Sation. We have practices in Baton Rouge and Mandeville once a week. We have to get our hair done, especially the blondes. We have a lot more upkeep, whatever. And then you do have to stay in shape. You don't want to be out of shape and on the field because the reality is there's cameras everywhere. Even if you think you're ready, you're probably not. So you just have to try a little bit harder and always smile on the field. But I just have to make sure that I am in shape and always holding your stomach in or standing up straight and things that you don't think of on a normal basis, I know I haven't been able to experience the best that New Orleans has to offer as far as their cuisine and food, so that's my goal, to be able to go to every restaurant and taste everything. We do have to work a lot to stay physically fit, especially living in New Orleans. My favorite thing is to eat, so all I want to do is go get a cheeseburger, which is not very good if you're trying to have abs, because you are what you eat, unfortunately. Last year, I knew that how could you top that? There won't be another first. There won't be another first year for me on the team. There won't be another first Saints Super Bowl. But I'm going to put everything that I can into making this team even better than last year's team. Much better, much better.
Up next, Drew Brees goes back to school.
1, 2, 3.
The year is winding.
During the bye week, Drew Brees took a break as field general of the Saints and instead called plays to second and third graders at Magnolia Trace Elementary School in Mandeville. As part of the NFL's Play 60, the quarterback led the students in exercises and emphasized the importance of a healthy diet. He also helped usher in a motor sensory playground designed specifically for children with autism, ADHD, and special sensory needs.
Well, this is an exciting day for us because Drew Brees is coming to present our NFL Spirit Day grant check for $10,000.
With the Back to Football Friday contest, we had over 5,500 schools enter nationwide, and over 100 of those schools were here in the New Orleans area. And Magnolia Trace really stood out, and the way they talked about the commitment to health and wellness here at the school was really inspiring.
We didn't tell the kids who was coming, and they've been guessing all week who they thought it might be, and everybody voted on who they thought was going to come, and Drew Brees was off the chart. They were hoping that he would come. I think they were so amazed to see him actually come to their school, talk with them about some of the same things that we've been talking about.
Just like when I was your age, I remember sitting there in your seat watching professional athletes maybe come to my school and talk to me. And I looked at them saying, I want to be like them someday.
Drew is actually the national spokesman for NFL Play 60, so he's very involved in all of our Play 60 initiatives.
Drew Brees gave a talk to the children about the importance of nutrition, the importance of exercising and playing at least 60 minutes a day.
What other stuff do you like to do that's just exercise? Like getting out, running around, other sports, that kind of thing. What do you like to do?
To have Drew Brees tell the children that apples and carrots are a good choice is something that's going to make a difference, I think, in their choices when they go home.
I think it's important to eat right and exercise when Drew Brees is telling us that, because he knows that it's right to keep your body healthy and in shape.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. I love that.
In addition to that, he's going to come into my office and sign 5 things. We've chosen 5 very special things for him to sign, and then he's going to go outside and do activities and exercises with the kids.
We ran around, we did jump rope, we did weights, and I got to run around in zigzags.
All the winners of the Back to Football Friday contest are receiving a $10,000 check. Schools can use it for different things, but here at Magnolia Trace, they're going to use that $10,000 grant to help build a special needs playground.
And that's a goal that the teachers and the parents have worked for over a year and a half. I think this is going to be a memory that they will never forget. They're second and third graders, but it is amazing how much they know about their team, how much they know about all the individual players. These kids know football. They love the Saints. And so this is a very, very special day for our kids.
My friends are going to be real jealous.
Every home game, I give away 2 of my tickets to our true saint. And a true saint is someone that, despite adversity, despite all the odds, demonstrates a positive attitude. And this week's true saint is Rebecca Jones. 12 years ago, Rebecca Jones was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 30. During the subsequent years, while she was in remission, Rebecca was diagnosed several more times with cancer. But through it all, she has managed to work, raise a family, attend nursing school, and inspire everyone around her. Though she has brain cancer now and has been laid off from her job at the hospital, she still puts her needs last. Her husband, Donnie, nominated her because, as he said, her strength, unselfish heart, and never give up attitude has made him a better man. Rebecca, I hope you and your husband enjoy the game this Sunday.
Don't go anywhere, Saints fans. Coach breaks down our Week 11 opponent, the Seattle Seahawks.
All right, we're jumping into the Seattle Seahawks, and we're going to talk a little bit about this week's Payton's plan, really the New Orleans Saints plan, as we play this team, an NFC opponent, but from the NFC West. They're currently 5-4, first in their division. Pete Carroll has taken over the head coaching responsibilities there, and in 1 year, they've quickly turned this team around. Now, we're going to start and look at an old veteran player, and that's Matt Hasselbeck playing quarterback for them. Here's a play last week, and one of the things that he does a great job with is creating with his feet and keeping a play alive. You're going to watch him step up in the pocket, climb, 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 and buy a little time. And here you see Deion Butler, one of their young receivers that can run. He's going to get through the Cardinal defense and find time to get to this part of the field. Now, in order for that to happen, the quarterback has to buy time with the protection. This is a route that's going to take a while. So they see that they've got a half safety up here. This receiver knows he's got to cross his face and look for the big play. It ends up being a 63-yard touchdown pass. These are big plays that we've got to pay attention to. One of the things that we've talked about defensively is not allowing the plays over our head. The other thing that a lot of people don't recognize with the Seattle Seahawks is their ability to rush the passer, particularly in the nickel situations. But here we're looking at a third down or a sub or nickel situation for Arizona. This front, with Clemens playing one of the weekend positions, you're going to see Aaron Curry, a linebacker who was drafted early out of Wake Forest a few years ago. All these guys do a great job with their TE games and rushing the quarterback. And we're going to look at one clip here which they're able to force Arizona off the field. Curry gets credited with the sack. He had 2 of them in this game. 59 we'll see from the end zone copy. Curry is playing inside here. He's going to be involved in a simple TE stunt. And so the tackle goes first, the end follows behind. They're trying to disrupt the offensive line, especially in their layers of protection. You'll see the quarterback here for Arizona quickly get flushed from the pocket, and Aaron Curry, 59, who plays the same linebacker position for him in their base defense, goes into a nickel down lineman mode, rushing the passer when they're in the third down situations. Protection is critical for us in this game like it is every week, but this is a team that rushes the passer very well, and the big plays with their receivers and Matt Hasselbeck, another key element to this week's Payton's plan.
Coach, Reggie Bush, we lost him after week 2 at San Fran, and wondering if we're going to be seeing him maybe this week at home against the Seahawks.
Angie, I think there's a good chance we will. With a lot of our players, specifically Reggie, Pierre Thomas has gotten healthier. A lot of our defensive players that have been nicked up. I think all of those guys have taken this week and a half to 2 weeks during the bye and gotten that much closer to playing, and that couldn't come at a better time with 7 weeks left in the season.
Well, that is some great news, and we are looking forward to having our guys back and healthy and ready to play.
It's a 3 o'clock start, 3:15 start, but we need everyone at the Dome making a ton of noise. We'll see you next week.
I see a lot of different jerseys represented out here. I see a little Tracy Porter Jr. here, Pierre Thomas over here, Colston. I see a Devery Henderson, Robert Meacham, Shockey, Reggie Bushes. I see a couple number 9s. I see a Deuce McAllister back here. I see a Joe Horn. I see a Jonathan Vilma. You guys have Saint Spirit?
Seahawks getting their 7th win of the season. We'll look at one former Seahawk who's now a part of the black and gold, plus Jordan Jefferson has a career day at Tiger Stadium, and Gil McGregor's in studio as the Hornets take their talents to the West Coast. It's all tonight on 4th Down.
On Sports, 4th Down on 4 starts now.
Welcome into the show. Sean Payton's evidently doing something right during his first 3 seasons as head coach of the Saints. He was 0-3 when coming off a bye. After today, he's won 2 straight with the extra time off. His team, though, after today's win, cautiously optimistic. They feel like they've found their stride, but understand there's still plenty of work to do. Sean Payton decided to err on the side of caution today with Reggie Bush, then watch as his offense threw caution into the wind, with arguably their best half of football all season. Drew Brees was Miami in February sharp. 205 yards passing and 3 touchdowns in the first half alone.
Last year we're 10-0 at this time. We're rolling. This year we're 7-3. But I feel like we are on the cusp. You know, I feel like there's things that we're doing now better than we did a year ago, and then there's some things that we're not doing as well. And if we can kind of pull all those things together and channel it in the right direction, I feel like this team can be better than last year's team.
In Bush's stead, Chris Ivory finished just 1 yard shy of the century mark and scored his first ever NFL touchdown.
I'm just gonna take advantage of the opportunities that's given to me, and I don't really think much about stuff like that. But you know, when my number's called, you know, I'm gonna do, you know, the best that I could do within that play.
Seattle, though, kept pace early by targeting an unusual suspect in the Saints secondary, Jabari Greer, twice victimized by the big play in the first half. Each big play, though, only netting a field goal as the Saints defense muscled up near the goal line.
It's something we talk about all the time, not giving them big plays, but we also talk about when they do get down there, if they get down there, however they get down there, we have to force them to kick field goals. And I think early in the game, with those 2 big shot plays, I think it was a confidence builder for us to hold them to those field goals.
The Seahawks would find the end zone just once on Sunday and cut the Saints' lead early to just 8 points. But 54 seconds later, Drew Brees and the Saints were in the end zone again, running the 2-minute offense almost too efficiently, as it left just enough time for the Seahawks and former Saints kicker Orlando Mare to boot another field goal as the first half ended. The Saints had the ball and the final nail in the Seahawks' coffin, though, to start the third quarter. 6 plays, covering 80 yards in under 3 minutes, and the defending champs had begun to loosen the lug nuts on the Seahawks.
I think the biggest thing we're doing now is just having fun. I think at the beginning of the year, you know, you hear about the Super Bowl champions, you're trying to defend all that. You put a little bit more pressure on yourself than you have to. Now I think we're just going out there, just enjoying the moment and having fun.
And so is the defense. Finally, those bounces that had gone the other way all season long were going the right way Sunday. Roman Harper not only caused a fumble, but recovered it, emerging from the scrum with the Saints' first takeaway of the game.
Definitely had my biceps flaring up a little bit, trying to hold on to that ball. It was definitely trying to beat me up a little bit and pull it out. But I was definitely on top of it. I think Danny Clark said he was on top of me, and I was just laying there, like, you know, just covering up the landmine so it doesn't blow up.
Any blowout, though, would be postponed following the turnover when Drew Brees returned the favor at the goal line. And then, after Scott Shanley produced the Saints' second giveaway, Garrett Hartley doinked his second miss this season under 30 yards. It was the second place-kicking miscue of the afternoon. The first was a fumbled hold after a bad snap on an extra point. The first one, Sean Payton would blame on the team's unexpected new long snapper. The other, however, he placed on his young kicker.
The fumbled snap was low, kind of handcuffed the holder. The miss was a clean snap and hold.
It's just one area the Saints will have to correct on a short week as they prepare to play in the franchise's first ever Thanksgiving Day game this Thursday. The Saints continued to do more with less, as in win more football games with fewer original starters on the field. Today against Seattle, no exception, as the Saints were again without key players at key positions, only to see a couple of backups step up. Here's Juan Kincaid.
What do Usama Young and Chris Ivory have in common? They've both become must-have pieces to the Saints' puzzle for success. When others have gone down, Young and Ivory have stepped in, stepped up, and the Saints haven't missed a step in running off 3 straight victories.
It's been the past couple of games when we've been banged up, so I had to step in. And I mean, I know I made some mistakes, but at the same time, I felt like I played pretty good.
When my number's called, you know, I'm gonna do, you know, the best that I could do within that play.
Realistically, both guys are backups to the backups. To the backups. Third string, if you will.
Why can't you just say safety, man? Nah, yeah, I mean, you take it for what it's worth.
but their play has been starter-esque, and it hasn't gone unnoticed by their teammates.
One thing that you've noticed, that when Sama gets out there, he makes plays. And when he had like 3 pass breakups, some big hits, a big pass breakup, 2 big pass breakups in the end zone. So, I mean, this guy's consistently made plays.
The running backs did a great job today. Chris played hard. He ran like a warrior today. I'm very proud of him.
Reggie Bush sees Ivory's play as the Saints being able to buy some time. The fact that Bush was inactive for today's game was a surprise, even to Bush, but he understood why.
Ultimately, it's the coach's decision to rest me one more week and prepare for Dallas. I understood his logic of thinking is that, hey, let's just give this thing a few more days and get ready for Dallas Cowboys. Obviously we took care of business today, and I'm happy we got the win.
And Bush got to enjoy Ivory scoring his career first NFL touchdown. And with Darren Sharp and Malcolm Jenkins both looking on, Young picked up the slack. And truth be told, he should have come up with a couple of picks of Matt Hasselbeck, both slipping through his mitts.
It's going to hurt a little bit watching film. I know that for sure.
Somebody's going to say something about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, they already are.
Yeah.
As soon as I got back to the sideline, I heard it from my guys. But it's all good. You take it for what it's worth and notice you got to improve.
All jokes aside, if it weren't for players like Young and Ivory and Lee Torrance and Junior Gillette, the list goes on and on with this team. There's no way they're 7-3. There's no way they're still in the playoff hunt. And there's no way that Lombardi trophy will be sitting in the Saints trophy case. But it is, and the reason why is crystal clear.
It's next man up. I mean, that's the mentality, and it's not, you can't worry about the guys you don't have. You got to worry about who you do have and work to their strengths. And Sean, Payton, and our coaching staff do a great job of putting guys in positions to succeed, doing what they do well.
The play of Young and Ivory, not the exception, but pretty much the norm for the Saints football team. Really, Scott, dating back to last season. There's a reason why they had the Lombardi trophy, because guys that you don't hear a lot about, not the Reggie Bushes, not the Drew Brees, but the lesser-known guys stepping in and keeping this team playing at the same level.
Well, Chris Ivory played. We saw that he could play well in that Tampa game, but this was inspired running.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he looked like a man among boys out there, which is, you don't see that a lot in the NFL.
He reminded me like the old guys like the Franco Harrises. When they take that first hit, they keep on running. Look, Chris Ivory told me, he said, you know what, I don't want to run around anybody. In the NFL, if you're one-on-one with a guy as a running back, he expects himself to be able to either run over that guy or to scoop past him, but he likes the contact, you can tell.
Sean Payton said he really expects Reggie Bush to come back against Dallas, held him out as a precaution today. And then you look at a guy like Pierre Thomas, a report that comes out that says he actually tore a tendon. Sean Payton was asked about that today, said it's inaccurate. So we still don't know when he's coming back. So that running back situation for the Saints really still up in the air.
And a guy like Julius Jones likes the way that situation is right now. Look, when they brought him in here, he was with Seattle, got dropped from them, and now he's getting another opportunity. This is a guy that's been a starter in the NFL for many, many years, and he may end up on this Saints roster by default if Pierre Thomas can't make it back.
I reminded him when we were in Dallas, I think it was I can't think of the year, 04, 05. We played there on a Christmas Eve, and he had over 100 yards at the half against that team on that field. But he had a good run to start the game.
If you can't beat them, join them. And the Saints were all too happy to welcome Julius Jones into their squad. 4 years after this run against the black and gold, Jones needed a new home. The Saints provided one, with the understanding that his stay could be a short one. But that mattered very little to Jones, who balked at other opportunities, some to compete for starters' minutes, to play for the Saints.
This one was the one that I wanted. Yeah. This is where I wanted to come. It's a winning organization. There's good people here. I know Coach Payton's going to surround himself with good players and, good coaching staff. So this was obviously the best choice, and, I just hope it continues to work out.
Since coming into the league 8 years ago, Jones has been his team's feature back. During his time in both Dallas and later in Seattle, Jones was expected to carry the load. But here in New Orleans, he carries less on his shoulder pads. With the black and gold, Jones is a stopgap.
I've been a starter ever since I put on, ever since I've been a rookie. You know what I mean? So this was definitely a tough year for me. Not only to be demoted a week before our first game in Seattle, then to be released. So, I mean, it's been a tough year for me, but, I'm here now. That's in the past. I'm just trying to make a future here for however long I can.
Even though he knew his opportunities would be limited by playing here in New Orleans because of people coming off the injury list, Julius Jones says he wanted to come play for the Saints for one reason.
It's my 7th year in the league. I've been out in Seattle, you know, we won 9 games in 2 years. You know, it's not very good. So obviously I wanted to come somewhere with a great chance of winning and you know, go in the playoffs and just be a part of a winning organization. And this is it.
It means a lot, you know, it really does. And you can see that in his attitude and his approach and, you know, how excited he is on game day.
Now the big question is, will Jones still be around should the Saints win it all again? Reggie Bush's return shouldn't affect that, but Pierre Thomas's eventual return, along with Chris Ivory getting back on the field, will.
That's the situation I'm in, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, we got some guys down, and you know, I was able to come in here and get some playing time. And you know, I know those guys will be back sooner than later. You know, that's not my decision, man. All I can do is, you know, do what I'm asked to do, and you know, make the best of every opportunity that I get.
Julius talked about he still has that burst of speed once he gets through the hole. We saw it today when he almost ran that ball. And we ran the ball in for the touchdown, called back by a holding penalty. But this is a guy that's going to compete for some minutes. It may end up being Liddell Betts, the guy that doesn't hang around.
Right, and it's a good problem to have for Sean. He's got enough running backs for all of those injuries that have come up. He might be wanting an extra kicker at this point, considering Garrett Hartley with another miss today. Then he actually kicked one out of bounds. I know they were trying to stay away from Leon Washington, but you didn't want to kick it out of bounds. Yeah. Your thoughts? Will there be any tryouts this weekend on the short week heading into Dallas at kicker?
I would be shocked if there are not any guys here on Monday. Of course, the team's probably off tomorrow, but I would be shocked if Sean hasn't made some phone calls already to see who's available.
I think it's tough because of the short week. Yeah. I think maybe there are no tryouts this week, but I believe perhaps even before the Saints game after Dallas, that there's got to be something in there to maybe shake things up, to maybe get his attention yet again. All right, we'll see. Juan Kincaid, thanks a lot.
Still ahead, the LSU. With their 34-19 win over the Seahawks yesterday, the Saints have now won 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5, all by double figures. Drew Brees has now thrown a touchdown in 24 consecutive games and a total of 55 during that time. With 382 passing yards yesterday, he went over 300 yards through the air for the 35th time as a Saint. Robert Meacham, who along with Marcus Colston had a pair of touchdown receptions, saw a number of pregame indications that Brees was ready to roll.
He came in and he had a look about him that you knew it's going to be a great day, because the week we had at practice, things he do is kind of crazy. Sometimes you catch a ball at practice, like how did he get that ball in there? And today you just knew it was going to be a good day.
And our pregame coverage of the game in Dallas on Thursday will begin at 6 p.m. on Eyewitness News on Wednesday. And we'll have our weekly fan chat on WWLTV.com coming up with Bradley Handwerger at 6:30 tonight. It's to the Hornets' credit that they could keep it going when they really couldn't get it going yesterday in Sacramento. The Hornets could only score 75 points against the Kings, but their reliance on defense permitted the Kings to score just 71 against them. The result was the Hornets' 4th straight win and 11th in 12 games, equaling the Spurs' best record in the NBA. Tonight, the Hornets continue their western swing with a game in Los Angeles against the Clippers. The Clips with the worst record in the NBA at 1-13, losers of 9 in a row, and a team that surrendered close to an average of 111 points per game during that skid. Of the many positive aspects of yesterday's Saints victory, perhaps the most positive for me anyway, was how the Saints continued to win and win impressively while so many integral members of the roster continued to rest and hopefully to heal. The Seahawks yesterday were missing one starter, fullback Michael Robinson, who rested a sore hamstring. The Saints were missing Bush, Thomas, Sharper, Shockey, Jenkins, and Robinson, 6 players who have started for them this season. Not only did the Saints not get healthier during the bye week as far as starters returning, they got more depleted when you consider the loss of snapper Jason Kyle. His loss for the season, when he was placed on injured reserve with a shoulder injury on Saturday and had to be hastily replaced, clearly rankled Sean Payton from the tenor of his postgame comments yesterday, as well it should. That's not an adjustment you should expect to or seemingly have to make the day before a game. While the Seahawks' place-kicking game functioned perfectly, the Saints again had a high schoolish feel. The deep snapper for the Seahawks was Clint Gresham, who was a training camp cut by the Saints. The Seahawks kicker was former St. Olindo Mare, who spent one woeful season here in 2007. Yesterday, Gresham's snaps were consistently on the money. Mare was 4 for 4 on his field goal attempts, while his strong leg put 4 of his 5 kickoffs into the end zone, leading to 3 touchbacks. He's now 19 of 22 on the season with his longest successful field goal being 51 yards. Before a miss 3 games ago, he'd hit on 30 straight attempts. 2 of those 3 misses this year came on chip shots between 20 and 29 yards. However, for the kicker who could well represent the NFC in the Pro Bowl, Garrett Hartley is not in that Pro Bowl conversation. Though he compares to Mare, who is, in one respect, he's missed twice from that distance as well. The 29-yarder that would have beaten the Falcons in overtime, and a 27-yarder in the 4th quarter that hit the left upright yesterday. He's now working with his second holder and second snapper of the season, both of whom have been in the NFL less than he. That's no excuse, but the situation can inspire much confidence in a kicker whose own must have been fragile anyway. And it can't inspire much in his head coach either. After suffering through a botched snap on an extra point and Hartley's doink from 27 yards out, Payton chose to forego about a 25-yard field goal on the Saints' final possession in favor of throwing a pass into the end zone on 4th and 6 from the Seahawk 8 with a 15-point lead and 29 seconds left in the game, a pass that was intercepted. Payton said afterward he feared another such error in the kicking game could result in a quick 6 the other way. So there was no attempt to restore a little bit of confidence in Hartley when another wide left might have totally destroyed whatever remains. Wide left has been a discordant refrain for the Saints kicking game this season. When golfer Lee Trevino was once asked why he consistently worked the ball left to right off the tee, he replied, "You can talk to a fade, but a hook won't listen." It hasn't been listening to his young kicker, and by now I'm betting Sean Payton's getting pretty tired of listening to any excuses for failures in the kicking game as well. That's a look at sports.
All right. Maybe some psychological
I think
treatment.
they've been through a lot of that stuff. I think they're kind of going around again and again and again. So something's got to happen.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Unseasonably.
Now, ABC 26 Sports with sports director Ed Daniels.
A New Orleans Saint has knocked out a native New Orleanian. It occurred early in Sunday's 34-19 win over the Seahawks, and it is part of tonight's breakdown. Saints running back Chris Ivory ran over New Orleans native and Seahawks cornerback Marcus Trufant. Ivory picked up a couple of extra yards and sent Trufant to the sidelines. Trufant suffered a concussion on the play. A little later, Chris Ivory breaks the tackle of a Seahawks linebacker and races to the outside for a gain of 24. And how about this stiff arm? Chris Ivory hands out some more pain and gains 9. Ivory ran 23 times for 99 yards and made the Seahawks pay. The Saints turned back the clock to 2009, scoring touchdowns on 5 consecutive possessions. Drew Brees threw touchdown passes on 4 consecutive possessions. It was like old times, said Drew.
Today we played at times as well as we played all season, and maybe as well as we played ever. You know, I mean, just so that gets you excited because you feel like, man, we're knocking at the door, you know, and just imagine when we can continue to kind of get all the weapons back.
The biggest mistake of the game came by the Seahawks late in the second quarter. Drew Brees threw an incomplete pass on 3rd and 3, but Raheem Brock was called for roughing the passer. 3 plays and 3 passes later, Drew Brees had the Saints in the end zone. New Orleans led 27-13. And today, Reggie Bush participated fully in practice. Well, fresh off their close call win over Ole Miss, LSU is preparing for Arkansas in Little Rock. The battle for the boot has been decided by 3 points or less in each of the last 3 seasons. Les Miles says the rivalry games are key, and the boot must stay in Baton Rouge.
When it comes to the challenge of keeping that trophy, that's something that we want to have happen. I can also tell you that the boot means to me that it kind of reminds me of the shape of our state. I can tell you that, that a boot is also a piece of clothing worn on the foot. And so there are really, what the boot means to me, the key is to not be given the boot.
Okay, the last 5 games in the series have been decided by 13 points. A win in Saturday's Bayou Classic would salvage the 2010 season for the Southern Jaguars. The Jags are 2-8.
Oh, these guys have put in the work. They've done everything we've asked them to do to prepare for the season, and we should have won most of those games. The reason we haven't is because we're averaging over 110 yards a game in penalties, and that's difficult to win at any level.
Stump Mitchell and Grambling coach Rod Broadway attended this morning's Bayou Classic presser on the floor of the Superdome. Of course, the game is Saturday. It was turn back the clock Sunday at the Superdome. The Saints jumped on the opponent early. The Saints had 280 total yards and 27 points by halftime. Drew Brees was lethal, throwing for 382 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brees threw completions to 10 different receivers. 5 receivers had 3 receptions or more. The Seattle Seahawks looked bewildered, which is what should happen the next 3 weeks to Saints opponents. Sure, this is the NFL. Any team can beat any other team on any given Sunday. Blah, 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 blah. But for every big upset, the favorites win far more often than not. And over the next 3 games, the Saints play at Dallas, at Cincinnati, and host the Rams. The combined record of those teams is 9 wins, 21 losses. The Saints should be 10-3 and will have an outside chance of matching last year's regular season record. A month ago, who would have thought that? And that is the somewhat unpredictability of the NFL.
Exactly.
But if you watch yesterday, other than maybe Redskins over Titans, which was a little bit of a mild upset, although Tennessee's quarterback got hurt, there was a lot of games that the best team really took control of it. Seattle and the Raiders is another one that comes to mind. So, you know, I know upsets happen, but I don't really see it happening to the Saints over the next few weeks.
Next 3 games looking pretty good.
Looking good, I think.
All right, thanks, Ed. More after this.